Hello.
Hello. Oh, we started?
Oh, yeah, we're
Oh.
good. We are taping. Welcome again to the Hackurate podcast. I am Aaron Howell.
I'm Nathan Goodman.
Hello.
I was zoning out. I was not
Oh, yeah, no, it's all
realizing
good.
we were starting, but here we
It
go.
always takes a second
Recording.
getting this started. Stars on Mars.
Nice.
We're going to go ahead and say spoilers in case you haven't seen it and you want to watch it. We're going to start off. We watched episode, was that 4?
Yeah, it was 4.
Nice. Yeah, episode 4 was really cool. A little bit more stakes involved. 2 people going home. It was exciting. The challenges were a little scary as far as spoilers. They were having to navigate a cave system to destroy some sort of fungal infection on the surface of Mars that had infected their hab. Barring the implication of extraterrestrial life on this fake Mars, they had to walk into a cave system that was completely dark.
Yeah.
And
It's
just
way dark.
Yeah, and just basically be guided by their base commander. And I don't know. Yeah, it would have been. I was surprised that actually everyone held it together as well as they did. I expected at least one person to start freaking out that they were just in pitch black.
Yeah, I wouldn't have handled that nearly as well.
I would
definitely would have just held on to somebody and pointed my flashlight forward and just walked forward. Been like as useful as I could be without getting lost, because I definitely feel like just not even trying to like stay physically attached in that scenario is really scary.
Oh, yeah. I would have gone into it being like, hey, we all need to make sure that we're like, tethered or holding hands or something because you don't want to lose a crewmate. And then one person do the navigating, because at one point they were multiple people trying to be like, I think we go this way, and that's not what you need.
Was it the second time that Redhead had been the second in command? I think so, right?
I believe so, yeah. She's been on their what's
She's been
Ariel?
Like, yeah, in the safe seat twice now. And Ronda Rousey was like the captain. I don't know. I couldn't tell if they were actually cutting it as close as they were cutting it, because the camera and the timer was doing like some weird things. They were like counting down 5 seconds, and it seemed like they weren't really able to do what they were doing in 5 seconds, but they did it and they completed it like way close.
Yeah. It was like right before what would be a commercial break normally in the show. But then they come back because it was like 5, 4, 3, and there's people like 30 yards away from their vehicles, which they're supposed to get back to and reattach their oxygen hoses. And then it comes back and it shows the 5, 4, whatever countdown right as they're all getting there at the rovers.
Yeah, that was wacky.
So yeah, like who knows if they actually made it that close to the wire? Hopefully that's more accurate, and they were just trying to tease it to keep you interested before the pre-commercial.
Yeah. I feel like they don't, the team doesn't like come up with a good plan, or like the leaders never really talk about how they're going to go over, like follow through with the situation.
Yeah.
Like they had 2 teams going into the cave into 2 different directions, and you have 2 captains. You could just have one captain giving directions to the one team and the other captain giving directions to the other team. But having them both talk to both teams seemed like a lot.
A little complicated.
I definitely feel like they could have done that easier.
Yeah, well, in that scenario, you would imagine that you would need less complication. So it'd be like, well, and that's one of the things I think I mentioned previously about one of the other episodes, is that we don't see that much pre-discussion about how, like you're saying, they're going into this next operation, or people sitting around being like, hey, this is how we need to be interacting in order to ensure that we understand each other, etc. It's usually just them socializing and talking about their outside lives, or getting to know each other. And it's just like,
that's true too.
You guys aren't
every single day it starts, and they all like seem to forget that every other day somebody has to go home, which means every evening or every
every
nighttime has to have a crisis. There's never going to be a full 48 hours where something doesn't happen.
No, of course not. They seem to be inordinately surprised sometimes. Some of them, when they're just like, again? Like, especially if it's like towards the middle of the morning and you're just like, that's
the second day. Show. It's the second day. People are going to go home.
Yeah, like you got to...
and this is the second time somebody's bowed out too. Like the football player, one of the football players bowed out in a previous episode. And then Natasha Leggero was like, I'm done. I'm ready to go home.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she was so burnt with like just the walking and like
didn't look like she was having any fun at all.
Looked miserable.
But I don't know. Maybe they're not doing as good on their physical keeping up. Maybe
like
they're all just trying to stay at where they were when they showed up instead of like getting a little bit stronger or
Yeah.
more cardio capable. I'd be doing like drills. I mean, they have Ronda Rousey there. She should be doing like rolling drills with them every day,
Well, and
getting
yeah, right. Well, it's
taught for the
interesting
missions.
too, because it's like, if it were real space, you'd have to be working out more than normal.
Oh yeah,
Anyways, because Mars is like what, 1/3, or maybe not 1/3, but I think maybe 0.7, something like that. I can look that up here in a second. Of Earth's gravities, but yeah, like when you're in space, you gotta, and you're not at 1G, you've got to work out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your body will atrophy,
right.
and you'll be useless.
There's definitely an aspect of them all trying to find. You can look that up. I'll
Yeah.
talk. I'm trying to find like stuff to do versus like remembering that they have daily tasks and there's always going to be a crisis and they should probably be working out when they're not doing their daily tasks.
Absolutely.
Just like, Loo-dee-doo, what's going on today? Maybe I'll hop on my iPad and maybe I'll do whatever. Try to talk to my family. It's not that long. 2 weeks. It's not even going to be that long.
Oh, I was a little bit close actually. Mars' gravity is 38% of the Earth.
Yeah.
So almost a third. Nice. Sorry,
Yeah.
continue.
So it's at least you're on, like it's kind of still pulling you to the ground. It's not so bad as total 0G. It probably, keeps you a little bit more sane, but
the blood clotting problem would still probably
yeah, of course.
be moderate, but I mean, I'd still imagine that cause some problems.
Probably just take some blood thinners.
Yeah.
Just
Maybe.
keep doing, your physical activity. But I don't know. I mean, they ever show anybody exercising on The Expanse? They probably talk about it in the books, though.
I mean, they show Bobby Draper exercising all the time because that's like her thing. She's like
a Marine person.
And Martian. So she, grew up having to exercise to know if she's going to be military, which is her character arc.
They also carry those suits on them too, so it's like.
But
in 1/4 gravity, I guess 1/3 gravity.
Well, it's only a few people.
Lighter.
It's basically like the Navy SEALs of Mars, though. If you're able to wear those exoskeletons,
I know.
So it's like she had to be training. in.
That's what I'm saying. That's another reason why she would have already been training.
Yeah, exactly.
So
no, she's definitely a good example of someone who would survive this challenge.
Yeah.
A Ronda Rousey type, actually.
Right. I mean,
So
the athletes are definitely
Ronda
all the
comes
standout
out.
people. I mean, there's like ice skater, Lance Armstrong, the football player guy that's left, whose name I can't. Marshawn.
Richard. No, Marshawn's still there.
Yeah, that's what I'm
you
saying.
said who's
Marshawn's
left,
still
not
there.
who left.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not many people actually.
Oh,
but we did see the
athletes.
Spoiler of the next episode is they're
they're
adding
adding
4
people.
people.
Oh yeah.
So
I forgot
that'll
about
be
that.
interesting.
Yeah,
So
which will
kinda
be cool
change the
because then
dynamic.
losing 2 people won't be as a big deal. Maybe we get some new interesting characters in there that focus
Right.
a little bit more on the game and less on hanging out. Hanging out
Down the street.
up on Mars.
I was about to say, there's no street on Mars.
It's the same old thing.
It's just dirt. Same old dirt.
old plants that you grew last week.
We're on 2
Eat
different
a
vibes.
potato.
Shit in your yard. It's Mars.
It's all Mars. It's all on Mars.
I love you, Mars-Constant.
Hello, Mars. Yeah, that was fine.
Hello, Olympus Mons.
That Mars 70s show.
Jeez.
It's the year 2070.
2170. We are on Mars.
We're watching everybody function.
Right.
It's truly stars on Mars. I mean, I still think athletes at this point seem to be just like the best at doing things.
Yeah,
that don't
because they're
require
physically
a lot of science.
fit, and like so far, all of the challenges have required at least someone to be like strong.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's kind of a
Right.
requisite.
Do a task
having-
from beginning to end.
Well, and like
With a
I
team.
don't see like when you get down to 2 people, like ultimately it'll probably be whoever's more fit, unless they do some sort of like really strong, crazy mental challenge like isolation or
Right.
something. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm interested
I
to see
imagine
how
the last
this all
couple
pans out.
challenges. I hope instead of like having to do votes, like, oh no, suits are getting punctured. That person's just out, or like
that'd be
random
so
things
exciting.
are happening
Yeah, they're
that's
like
getting them like out.
micrometeoroid storm.
Yeah. Something that raises the stakes that makes it less of like just the voting off.
Yeah.
But either or.
Well, because like I do think they they seem to have not until this recent episode. Like it took them a minute to really appreciate just having like regular food around, and then as soon as it showed them all like hanging out, having a good time, like eating
the
just
dehydrated
whatever.
blocks.
Then no, not the dehydrated blocks. Before they got to that, where it was just suddenly then just like, all right, well, now your garden just got ruined because you've all just been sitting here eating. hanging out.
Yeah, they were like, "We'll
And
make a salad." Well, and my thing too is
now it's
like,
just like, oh, you got to ration your food.
if you were in space and you had a garden that was growing like that, and it had all the fruits, like, don't you harvest a garden? You don't just leave everything like growing. If you have a fully red plum tomato, you don't leave it on the vine. So I feel
Yeah.
like they should have
They should have harvested stuff and taken it out
yeah,
of that
like
room.
probably 80% of what was in the room before it got torched.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and
because there
so
was full cucumbers, there was full tomatoes, there was full everything, bell peppers.
yeah.
And it's like, I feel like they could have been more on top of what they were doing with that stuff. But maybe they just don't know. Maybe the lack of direction and being like,
I mean,
take care
maybe
of the plants. They're like, I'll water them, when that really meant
take
pull
care
those
of these plants.
vegetables, put them in the crisper, put them in
Yeah.
some bags.
Well, and it's like, shown them
Something.
actually like tending to them and watering them. So it's like, I don't know how much of the production, like, involves them maybe potentially replacing the foods that they are maintaining, just making sure they're still like good and fresh. Maybe. I don't know if that's any part of it.
Oh,
Or
you think
maybe,
it's the illusion? You think those like
I mean, it could be
full
the
plum
illusion.
tomatoes, even if they plucked them all, they would have put a full plum tomato
Maybe.
plant back
Yeah,
down.
exactly. So I don't really know, but I would
It's a
say
little
like,
brutal to some plants.
I don't know how they're producing it, but at the end of the day, I feel like, they've at least shown them that like, hey, when you guys just sit around doing stuff that you're kind of taking things for granted, it's immediately made clear that you can't do that. Because in one of the earlier episodes with water, they were all talking about showering. They're sitting there standing, doing dishes, talking, just running water and stuff. And then here's a challenge where your water is all gone. You got to go get more water. And so, I think that's
And they
the part
failed.
they're kind of, they failed that challenge. And like part of what I'm seeing them break down in, or at least what I feel like they might not have caught up to yet, unless this challenge really showed them like that, hey, you got to be thinking about you're doing this thing.
Yeah, conserve.
Conserve and like maybe double check on all your stuff.
Right.
Stop having like trying to just spend time feeling good and like feel those creature comforts that you're used to. And like, socialize. Yes, absolutely. You need that connection, but you guys need to spend more time like working on the problems around you so you're not suddenly caught off guard the next problem. Start thinking about it. No one's been like, what if this happens? What if this happens? And that's the one thing I haven't seen really any of them doing.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're trying to pre-anticipate what might happen.
I mean, I don't know.
Which is something you would do, though, I would imagine, in space, because you've got to consider all what could go wrong.
Maybe, but if you have people behind the cameras like flipping switches, it's like doesn't really, like I wouldn't have seen like weird fungus thing coming. That was kind of random.
That was
that
totally
one
random.
actually had no stakes. The like fungus was just stuff painted on the wall, and the stuff in the caves was just string and like a balloon.
Yeah.
So it's like spoilers. It wasn't real.
Oh,
it wasn't
yeah,
a real alien fungus.
But it's like the stakes of that one was that, well, this fungus is going to like, quote, kill you if you don't get it under control.
Sure,
or it'll infect your food,
but it wasn't.
Whatever.
It wasn't the same as like plugging the plant room so they could grow more plants. Like, because if they didn't do that, then they just wouldn't have had plants.
Yeah.
But then if they didn't do this fungus thing, they didn't really say what would have happened. I mean, I guess we'll never know, but I wonder if they have consequences planned for everything that fails.
That's a good question, because like now that you're talking about like, if they hadn't plugged the plant room, I'm wondering like if they failed that mission, would they have just been like, well, you can't use this room?
Right. They would have already used all that water by now.
Oh, yeah.
Like coming from a person who's lived on a farm for multiple stints, you go through that amount of water that they got was like 15 gallons in like 2 days at most.
No, like it was definitely
like
a symbolic amount of water.
Drinking water, if you have 5 or 10 people and trying to cook, that's all going to be gone in a couple of days.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine I haven't heard any of them say anything that like they haven't been showering, so I'm sure it's symbolic water.
Yeah. They don't put them in like actually inhumane conditions.
Yeah.
Unless they
what's funny though? The reality of them though being out in the bush in Australia where they're filming this is that they literally do have to truck in water unless they built a small well because it's out in the desert of Australia. So that's pretty funny, I think, where it's like it's enough like Mars where they're having to do similar things.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's enough production.
To shoot the
there's enough production that there should definitely be a behind the scenes show.
That would be awesome.
Like just of how much stuff they had to do to make this happen. Because I mean, like the drones are fancy, the little walking robots are fancy.
Yeah, those
the
are
whole thing is nice. So
They
it's
look
like
Boston's
they definitely
Dynamics
balled
robots.
out on making it like a functioning like illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one, I mean, them having Marshawn tuck his hair under his suit this most recent episode was also awesome because, like, the first couple episodes, his dreads are hanging out from under his helmet, and you're just like, huh, my belief.
Yeah.
Kind of
That shit was
hard to
hilarious.
suspend.
That shit was hilarious. He was like a full on like space predator pirate guy with his dreads just hanging out.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, I mean, maybe his suit could still seal around the hair.
No.
So
No, it's got to be airtight. It's got to be hair tight.
Not with a rope.
Okay?
Not with like a rope.
Yeah.
With like tiny micro air holes.
Because they are smaller than hair. It's got to be airtight.
If it was a true vacuum, it would probably just break it.
Oh, I mean, he'd die as soon as they depressurize that airlock. Like it wouldn't have worked.
Still looks cool though. You got to build a custom suit with a thing to make your dreads hang out.
Just loose
out of the back
tubes
like
in the back of your suit, like pantyhose, but maybe not that type of sheer material.
Yeah, because otherwise they're gonna float up into your helmet.
Yeah, you have to like secure them for sure. That's why you see people in the Expanse. No one's in space with super long hair.
Yeah, we should,
or at least the people who are always have their hair tight.
Go for it.
Yeah,
You're in space.
You just shave it all off. Just get it out of there, and you don't have to worry about space lice. Because I would imagine, despite humans' efforts, lice are going to follow us into space because we're gross. We're animals.
Maybe. I saw a video with some sea lice the other day, like ocean lice in like a crab. It's pretty horrible.
Like a sea louse?
No.
What you would call an individual lice? Because lice is plural.
Oh.
Louse, I think.
I don't know, but either way.
Oh, but yeah, so
sure, probably then,
is it just a gross-looking creature? Is that what you're saying?
No, it was a bunch of tiny things inside of a crab.
Oh, inside? Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, going crazy. They were just like, and I was like, oh, God. So many reasons to not go into the ocean. I went down a crazy deep aquatic adventure on Instagram watching videos of like ocean stuff.
Nice.
And
the ocean's trending right now.
It's brutal out there. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. I mean, there's a lot of videos that are like, this is pretty,
Titanic.
But also it's not really. It was like, there was a video of a tortoise just sitting, or I guess not a tortoise, but like a sea turtle blowing water bubbles up. And they were like, oh, so cute. And deep in the comments, it's like, they're doing that to attract fish to eat them.
Right.
And you're just like,
predatory display. Yeah.
Like everything all ocean things do are either to like fuck or to fucking eat something else that's
trick something into getting eaten.
Just slightly smaller than itself to eat it.
Yeah. It really is a creature eat creature world in the water, for sure. More so than on land.
Right.
There's less of our interference. Everything's just like, I'm gonna do what I want. People are over here just like, I'm gonna hop in the beach on this surfboard, and a shark's like,
oh yeah. I mean, it's kind of like birds too. So it's like above and below.
Yeah, right.
Everything's just eating each other that are super similar. Like birds will eat smaller birds.
They do say, as like, above, so below.
Why is that happening? They fly too, and they're like, we don't care. But we don't eat smaller people.
Let's make a seafood.
Definitely don't eat smaller
seabird fusion place called As Above, So Below. You want to eat seafowl?
What seafowl do people eat?
You could eat seagulls.
You don't eat gulls?
I don't eat gulls, no.
You'd fry up
Someone
some gull
might
wings?
Eat gulls. I don't know.
The goal of some of these people.
I know most seabirds, or at least, I say most. I know the albatross is very protected. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I only know the albatross
because the rescuer is down under.
Because there's an albatross and rescuers down under.
Oh.
And he's
I've
a plane.
A plane?
He's an airline.
Airline? Oh,
they hop on him like a plane, and he's like, we're going across the ocean. And then they fly down to Australia.
Wild. Hey, Australia. Shout out Stars on Mars. Right? Also, shout out the cone shell. It's creepy. It's going to kill you fast. Stay down there.
The shark? You were talking about sharks?
No, the cone shell. It's just a tiny little shell, like a couple inches long, I think at most. And it's got a little creature in there that'll it's got a little venomous dart. And if it hits you, it kills you faster than your brain can register.
What kind of creature? Is it a crab?
I know. It's like I think some sort of, slug-like thing of the ocean, like some shell-based creature.
Like a mollusk?
Yeah, kind of like a mollusk. A mollusk. It might be a mollusk specifically. I could look it up.
Like a snail.
But yeah, they're one of the most deadly things on the planet because, especially of how fast their venom works. Not poison because you're not eating them.
Yeah, I know everybody's been getting really into like the snails and slugs and how they move around and eat stuff, and it looks really cool and cute, but it's gross. And I don't like things that look wet like that. I don't like perpetual wetness.
Oh, sorry, cone snails.
Deeply uncomfortable. Yeah, so snails.
So not I've always been calling it a cone shell, but it's specifically a cone snail or a cones. Highly venomous sea snail or the family Conidae.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
Yeah. I mean, thing says symptoms: poison, swelling.
Now look up
how do you survive?
Animals with the most brutal death methods or killing methods. Because I know there's like.
I'm sorry, I spaced for a second while I was looking at that article.
Animals with the most efficient killing methods.
Oh yeah, what about it? Oh, look that up. Okay,
find them.
What do you think will be? Let's take a guess. Let's say top 5.
I mean, I know.
What do you think will be in the top 5?
Like dart frog has a really fast poison. Venom? Is it maybe a venom, or do you touch it and it's poison? Like I don't remember.
It's still a venom if you're not eating.
No, I know. But the frog, does it excrete? I think it's just on the outside.
Yeah,
of its skin.
they have glands and they excrete venom. Because
Yeah,
that's like people who do the toads.
That's excreting
for like that kind of.
No, I guess it's still a venom. It's kind of so confusing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a poison if you're poisoned if you eat one of those toads by the venom.
But that one probably kill you fast.
Yeah.
I know there's a jellyfish that kills you real fast.
The box jelly?
Yeah.
Portuguese man of war, I think, can also kill you if you touch the tendrils because they've got that bottle on the top. That's why they're also called a blue bottle.
Yeah.
Super most deadly,
super scary and painful,
and efficient.
And there's a couple ones that like are painful but don't kill you. I was reading about, I think, maybe a jellyfish the other day that was really painful but doesn't kill you. It's hard to remember.
Looks like it's not, at least for this first section on Google, it's not showing me a specific list. Here we go. An A to Z animals.com, the top 10 deadliest animals in the world.
Million ways to die in the water.
Or just in the earth, on the earth. Million ways to die.
Right? I mean, how lucky are we that whales aren't fucking out for blood?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, they're getting there. I know people are trying to say that killer whales aren't hazardous to humans, but they're starting to learn that they don't like us.
Well, you know what's funny? So in that first list I encountered before I clicked on an article, the first animal that was shown, it just showed me a bunch of animals that have killed people. The first one was an elephant. And then at the beginning of this article, it says, key points. Some animals are deadly due to being large and aggressive, such as the hippo and elephant.
So they'll just beat you or
other animals,
you.
They'll smash you. Other animals on this list are some of the top deadliest animals in the world because of the diseases they carry.
They'll smash you.
Snakes are among the most feared on this list, but the most surprising animal would be freshwater snails.
Huh. What?
Oh, shit.
That's not... I don't like hearing that. I already don't go in lakes
animals
or creeks or ponds or really of any kind.
All right, so it starts backwards. 10, sharks.
Yeah,
okay.
Naturally. Sink all those thousands and thousands of teeth in you. And
9, elephants.
Trampling.
Don't get smashed
Various
or trampled.
methods of
Number
trampling.
8, you want to guess?
Choke you out with its trunk.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Slap you with its ears.
Could you imagine someone training an elephant to choke people? Jeez. They're just like, I didn't kill him. My elephant just went crazy.
Just keeps reaching over the bars and grabbing individuals. It's very bizarre. I'm not going to put him down. He's in danger. I can't send him anywhere. He's too rowdy.
It's the perfect crime.
You just have to get. I mean, but the problem is
endangered animal
trained on the property. They're like, I'm going to prove that this elephant doesn't exist, and then they can't prove it because they're dead. They had their heads snapped off by the strangling elephant.
Sees them and it's just like, I'm gonna get you. So, guess what number 8 is?
Oh no, I don't want to guess. I'll guess the
hippo.
Higher ones. Hippo.
Hippopotamuses.
Okay. Naturally.
7,
stomp you too.
tsetse flies. Ooh, they probably do something unpleasant. We're going to look it up. We're going to see what it says. First of several insects to make the list of 10. Oh, so more insects coming. As is case for bugs, it's not the actual bite of the tsetse fly that kills humans, but the resulting infection that proves fatal.
Oh, God.
It resides in the tropical regions of Africa, and their bite infects the host with a parasite that causes African sleeping sickness.
Oh, God.
It is a very difficult disease to treat, especially given the lack of medical resources in the area. But without treatment, the disease is fatal without exception. Let's see if I can find some more. That's all the info it's got on the disease.
Horrible.
right? Oof.
Don't
Six,
even see it coming. It's just a
kissing
small
bugs,
fucking
or
bug.
also known as assassin bugs. See here. Assassin bug is the collective name, used to refer to over 150 species of insects that possess a specific type of curved proboscis.
What?
This proboscis is used as a tool for the defense and also to hunt. And the
Proboscis?
propensity, it's like
Is that the thing that hangs down your throat?
no. A proboscis is like a butterfly. It's got that really long curled mouth. That's a proboscis.
All right.
Yeah. It's not not the uvula.
So it's the little thing that hangs down in the insect's throat.
Jesus.
When they're deep throated and the other one's proboscis, then it's
No,
like
they
way
don't
in their
deep throat
throat.
proboscis.
How do you know that's not a part of their foreplay?
It might not be a part of their foreplay.
Butterflies look like real sluts. They're out there.
They might
fluttering
be.
around.
You're from flower to flower,
right? Can't be stopped touching every stamen available.
Ooh, man, they won't be staying away from these stamens. Stamen. Anyways, the proboscis is used as a tool for defense and also to hunt. The propensity of these species to target the soft tissue regions around the mouths of humans is what earned them their commonly known name of kissing bug. Jeez.
Where are they?
Found throughout the world, most kissing bugs are no threat to humans.
That's great.
Besides an abnormally painful bite, however, several species that inhabit Central and South America transmit a dangerous disease called Chagas disease. Even without the treatment, mortality rates are low from Chagas disease. But the widespread nature of the parasitic infection means that even the 5% death rate causes between 12 to 15,000 deaths per year from organ failure resulting from the infection. Jeez. These bugs are
murderous.
Guys, we are so lucky the bugs are also small.
But at least if they were big, we could see them coming.
Yeah.
They're a little bit bigger. I mean, with the hornets, you can be on alert with these small.
Dude, I once watched a show of, some really nice visuals. Electric Sheep visuals, 10 hours on YouTube. Check it out. Crocodiles are number 5.
Nice. Death roll.
Yeah.
I saw somebody like get grabbed. They were feeding one.
Whoa.
Yeah. In a video the other day. It was like at a zoo. And the person just had to roll with it. It was like one of the trainers or whatever, one of the zoo people, like they knew to roll with it. And just some other bystander guy walked over and started punching it in the face. Gosh. And the person like got up with their arm out and they're all wet. And I was just like, holy crap. This hero man over here saved the day. Didn't let his kids see this person potentially get their arm ripped off. Yeah, it's brutal. But
I've seen my dad fight at an alley.
Definitely humans being.
It's probably an alligator, I'm guessing. Probably not a crocodile. I don't think they do crocodiles for.
Where was that?
Inhabited or habitats
really?
Or anything. I think it's just because they're so big. Like my current understanding is that it's just because they're large, they're lizards, they're just not. You can't train them.
But you're not telling me the story of your dad fighting an alligator.
No, I was talking about the kid who saw the thing that you're talking about. He's probably my dad.
Your dad.
Oh, my dad.
I was like, whoa, what?
No.
When have you guys ever been in the Florida Everglades?
You know what's funny though? I'm pretty sure my parents did live in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, at one point for a little bit. Yeah, I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that they moved around.
Haven't lived in Florida for a little while.
That's a good point. I mean, my parents have been in, I believe, Florida, Tennessee, obviously, definitely Kentucky, West Virginia, because that's where their families are from. Indiana, I know that. I can't remember if they lived a little bit in Ohio as well. We've got family there.
Just all around that region.
Well, like they moved for since my dad was in the Air Force.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And they also lived in Alaska for I think at least a year, maybe a little bit longer. I used to look at like photo books they had from like Alaska. That always looked really cool.
Where was it, in the 80s?
It's probably like the 80s.
Well,
yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah,
because
I'm pretty sure
in the 80s.
Pretty sure my dad was in the military during the Cold War. Because he's 59. He was 59, so 60, and like by the time he's like 20 to 30, so around.
It's like when the maintenance department was way big because everybody was on standby. He was just standing by, tightening bolts, waiting,
making sure those planes fly.
Something might happen,
right?
Maybe tomorrow.
Although I think, if I remember correctly, I think the plane that he worked on, or maybe used
then they
more
were
so
like,
for scouting.
Things are going down in Cuba, and he's like, "Oh, thank God." Oh yeah, Alaska. I thought this was going to be a crapshoot of a deployment, but now I'm so far away from everything going on.
Thank skip, God. And a jump to Russia. That's what you got to worry about when you're stationed in Alaska. Well, that and aliens up in Nome, Alaska.
Oh yeah, true. I guess
I want to get kidnapped
the problem
by aliens.
with the Cuban Missile Crisis was Russia, wasn't it? Well, then I'll just eat my whole
Well, no,
steak.
I was just talking about any general problems with Russia. But yeah, the Cold War is definitely with Russia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a scientist, or I'm not a political scientist.
Not a historian.
I'm just a sound
I
doctor.
have a vague, complete, accurate knowledge of nothing.
Yep, so accurate. So let's see here. For crocodiles, 1,000 to 5,000 deaths annually. It's one of the largest, most aggressive, and most dangerous animals in the world, weighing in at over 2,000 pounds. We're talking a small sedan here, people.
Seems like a lot for something
in the
that
size
you could see and hear
of like a
coming,
fifth.
probably. But I guess people go out on the water all the time.
Well, the thing people also don't realize
Get
is
got.
that like they have sprinting bursts too on land. They
Oh,
can
yeah.
run with that. That's why people claim that like you need to like weave when you're running from a gator or a croc, as far as I know, because it kind of slows them down. You don't want to run in a straight line because they can just sprint to you real quick. But I mean,
What you're saying is these crocs are homophobic.
it's just wait, what?
I
was like, wait, what?
Sprint straight, so you got to get as queer as possible, and then they're just like, I don't like that, and they go crawling back into their swamps.
Well, no, because if they don't like it enough, then they're still going to try to eat you. That's the problem with phobic animals. They don't care. They'll still try to kill you.
They're like, this tastes fun.
The deadliest species is the Nile crocodile, which lives in the region surrounding the Nile River, and were so feared by the Egyptians that they carried tokens of their crocodile god for protection from the reptiles. Number 4, freshwater snails. I've never heard that.
What is going on with these snails?
Apparently are deadly as all get out.
I'm so scared.
Let's see here. Surprisingly enough, the next deadliest animal on a ranking is none other than freshwater snail. Much like less overtly threatening species, it's not the snail that directly kills humans, but the disease that they transmit. It's like plague rats, except snails.
So if there are snails, then you got problems.
Yeah. According to the World Health Organization estimates, several million people are diagnosed with a parasitic infection called Oh man, this is a hard one. Schistosomiasis. That's an interesting one. Can you say that? That's a lot of syllables in a very short amount of words.
Oh yeah, you're not kidding.
A lot of T's, N's,
Schistosomiasis.
That sounds pretty right.
Schistosomiasis. Yeah, it sounds pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Let's see the rest of that. I'm not going to.
Yeah. Let's see here. So several million people are diagnosed every year, and somewhere between 20 to 200,000 of those cases are fatal.
Oh yeah.
Whoa. It causes abdominal pain, blood in the urine.
Something that
generally fatal outside of developing countries.
One of those like #actually types of facts is that a lot of people think like while the rats were spreading the disease in the times way back when, if you look at a lot of medieval paintings, you'll see snails or like either knights riding snails or a lot of snails were in artworks were the signs of like coming plague or like coming apocalypse. So you either see them like down in the corners small, or you'll see them like big, like with like an oppressor like riding them.
Whoa.
So like that's definitely something that they told us in the art, but once all those people died, there were so few people to be like, so few people to actually say, oh, the snails were here too. Like the rats were obviously a problem. They got the cats, the rats.
All the people messing with the snails died, maybe.
Oh yeah. I mean, cleaning up the snails, that whole aspect of removing that thing. I mean, and you don't know if your like water is probably bad until after you've drank it or like consumed a good fair bit of it back in those times, because everything smells bad.
Yeah. And snails drink water.
Yeah. And they're in there. I mean, that's where they'll propagate typically. So like moist areas. I'm trying to remember.
How weird is it that like snails are almost like a water, they're like an amorphous thing, and then they're just kind of like, I'm from out of water.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're everywhere.
Wild creatures.
I feel like in the South, after like a crazy like season of rain, like you'll find them under like all the leaves and trees, and you're looking out of your yard going, is something wrong with my yard? There's too many snails, and then nothing comes of it. And another season passes, and you're like, all right, I guess this is whatever. But I bet one of these trees is like a rusted out mold pile just waiting to be consumed by.
Well, that makes
these animals
more sense too. Why snails are considered like pests of a garden, not because they just eat the stuff, but because maybe somewhat what's it called, not entheogenically, that's something else. I just heard them using this term I know David Sinclair. Epigenetically.
I was going to
That's
say
it.
epistemologically.
No, epigenetically, like we've got this experience with snails bringing us so much disease. So
Yeah.
that must be part of why we're also just like they're pests. And
Yeah.
then mosquitoes, malaria's killed more people as far as we know ever than anything else combined.
Yeah.
Like, which is crazy. It's like what I think people estimate 30 billion people have died from malaria over human history, and that's just the history we assume and know about.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot. You want to know what the third one is? You want to take a guess?
Go
We're in
for
top 3.
I'm going to keep saying the poison dart frog. It's got to be on this list.
Dogs/wolves.
This list is a crock of shit. This is a kangaroo court list.
We got 2 left. Just a second. It might not be kangaroo court.
All right.
Unless there's kangaroos. It's just punching people out here.
I already know pit bulls kill people a lot. Maybe we need to take the number of people out. That's fine. We'll finish the list.
Not your pit bulls, Drew. Dog attacks have led to
whatever. I'll show you some videos. Show you some articles. Plenty of articles.
There's a hilarious, like starting sentence. It says, "Man's best friend is also one of our deadliest threats."
One of our biggest enemies tonight on Man vs. Dog.
A to Z animals.com. Dog attacks have led to 30 to 50 deaths in the United States alone each year. Many of these mauls, I forgot it's called being mauled too, results from one lone dog, often a family dog, or belonging to a neighbor. So it's like serial killers. It's usually, or at least killers, someone you know. Others killing were from feral packs of dogs. Directly fatal dog and wolf encounters are exceedingly rare in comparison to the number of deaths resulting in canine-transmitted rabies infections. So, man, it's what they carry, y'all. Stay healthy out there. We are several hundred years removed from when wolf packs actively hunted humans in India, causing over 200 deaths per year in the 18th and 19th centuries. Whoa, but 40 to 50,000 deaths annually are caused by the rabies virus alone.
Gross.
Watch out for rabies, y'all. If you get bitten by a suspect dog, you better get checked. It's not worth dying. Again, the vast majority of those deaths take place outside the first world countries and are the result of a lack of advanced medical care. Rabies transmission from wolf species is much lower than those from dogs. So actually, dogs are more deadly for rabies. I wonder if it has something to do with like living in human environments that contributes to that.
Typically, yeah, but they also get bit by raccoons and stuff.
Oh, that's fair too.
Yeah.
And out in the wild, raccoons aren't necessarily biting dogs.
Yeah, people will leave them out in the,
I guess,
in their yards or out in a heavily wooded area, and they'll get bit, and then they'll bite something else.
Yeah, and I guess human society attracts raccoons and stuff like that too.
Oh yeah,
that makes sense. Number 2, you got a guess? We got 2 left.
I'm shocked because it's not been things that have been the most painful. It's just been most deaths. So just some form of bird.
Snakes.
I would have been closer with a form of reptile.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, damn it.
It turns out that the fear of snakes or ophidiophobia may not be so unreasonable after all. Duh. Snakes account for over 100,000 fatalities a year.
I think I'm more scared of snails than snakes right now.
Yeah, right? Well, that's because snakes are the devil you know. A worldwide shortage of antivenom. There's always been a worldwide shortage of antivenom for my entire life.
Let's get some more antivenom out of here.
Right? As well as the remote. Well,
I think
it's because you have to milk the animals to make the antivenom. So I think it's like you just can't possibly be out there catching
animal
all the
rights
snakes.
People are like, we got to give these snakes a break. Let's give them like a 2-generation break on snake milking.
Yeah, so avoidance is your best policy. You can't count on being able to get antivenom.
Wow.
Well, and like imagine getting bit out in the bush in Australia and you're like a million miles and people away from antivenom.
But you should already know you're in the bush in Australia. There's like
you shouldn't go to Australia without expecting to encounter something deadly.
Yeah,
in my opinion, just because there's so many things. There's that tree that kills people with its painful oil. It just makes things kill themselves because it's so painful. Yeah. That's scary.
None of those things are on this list.
No.
What's number 1?
I did type in animals.
Are we in 2?
I didn't say plants.
Are we in?
We're at 2 for snakes. Carpet viper is, I think, is that the most deadly? Let's see if it tells us.
I don't know if I've ever even seen like a necessarily deadly snake in the wild.
The Indian saw-scaled viper. It only gets up to about 3 feet long. Also called the carpet viper. It resides in Africa, the Middle East, and India. And the female of the species is twice as venomous as the males. Woo, these ladies are spicy out there.
Yeah, scary.
Aside from the high death rate, the carpet viper's venom is a neurotoxin that causes an extremely high number of amputations. Oh no, it's like a brown recluse of snakes in those victims that it doesn't kill outright. Of all the venomous snakes in the world, the inland taipan is supposed to be the most elusive and toxic.
Jeez.
Right?
Are they just like snake shapes, do you think? Or they
What do
don't
you
sound
mean?
like, well, because I guess cobras are the ones with the things, and then the rattlers are the ones with the shaky
Yeah,
tails.
cobras
So
have the
I guess if they're just
hoods.
vipers, they're just
It's just snakes.
scary noodles.
I know that no snake.
Death
Something about
noodles.
snake heads shape also indicates if they're venomous or not. I believe it's how the jaw and the glands like
Oh, yeah.
form.
If it looks like a
something.
fun little like puppy, then it's not venomous. But if it looks like a scary
Can't remember.
monster,
Let me look up snake heads.
looks like a hydra monster
Snake
that
heads
is ready to murder you.
indicate deadliness?
Wrap you up.
Question mark.
I'd probably rather get bit.
And you know what? Well, that it mentioned right before it said it mentioned the toxic ones. It said most people would assume that it's like boas and things that constrict people are the deadliest.
No,
but,
that takes time.
Yeah, exactly.
That takes way too long. And I mean, they're usually the louder ones too, so and the bigger ones, so you notice that faster. But
yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to have a story of getting out of a boa constrictor. That sounds like a scary situation for sure.
Oh, well, yeah.
Woke up and it was halfway up my body.
Right. I thought someone was just giving me a big hug, and then realized I was
fought it
getting
off.
eaten by a
I
snake.
thought I was just wrapped up by my sleeping bag, but nope.
So there are two articles that popped up immediately. First one from Terminix.com says like how to tell if a snake is potentially venomous in 4 steps. Haven't clicked on it yet, but it says while non-venomous snakes have a rounded head, venomous snakes have a more triangular shaped head. And that's all that I can see. But the next article under it says no, shape of snake's head does not show whether it's venomous or not. So I'm just not going to go down that hole right now.
Science.
Just watch out for snakes, guys.
Science.
I want to get back to this list. Science, you know. And all right, you want to take a guess on number 1? Talking number 1, y'all, based off of what we've been talking about.
Did bugs already cover all the bugs, or is that too much of a hint?
Too much fan.
Okay. So it's got to be a bug then.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, there's no way I can answer that without it being a thing. So it's
I
a bug.
ruined it. It's the old game
not a frog.
The old game of who? No, it's never frogs, I guess.
No. Especially, too, because I think those poison dart frogs might be endangered.
For fly, so you didn't say mosquito, so it's got to be mosquitoes with malaria, right?
It's a mosquito.
Yeah.
You got it right. Yeah.
Got these
Mosquito
numbers out here.
is the single deadliest, most dangerous animal in the world and also one of the smallest. So don't feel bad about killing mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are estimated to cause between 750,000 and 1 million human deaths per year. Watch out for mosquitoes.
Especially all those ones that got injected by the CIA. Just carrying stuff around, going, boop, you got it. Boop, you got it.
You got it. Oh, prick, you got it. Prick right here, you got it.
You got mail
got it.
from the government.
You know, they're like walking or flying hepatitis needles.
Yeah.
Except with way more things than hepatitis. Malaria, dengue fever, the West Nile, and Zika viruses. Malaria alone accounts for over 500,000 fatal infections annually. So still malaria.
That's too many.
A year. It's still one of the deadliest things.
What are we doing about malaria out here, you guys?
We need to be doing more.
Let's get it together.
And that was all based off of the question, top 5 most deadly and efficient animals. So that was my question that got us to that article on A2ZAnimals.com.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that's that classification.
Yeah, we don't need to find the other one at this point. We've been on this subject long enough.
That's a good subject, though. I like it. It was it's a good rabbit hole, or not poisonous rabbit. Man, imagine a poisonous rabbit. Just like, what would that even look like? Would it be any different? Just have like a toxic venom? Or maybe it's got like spurs on its legs like a platypus. Like, what is that animal? It's got spurs like a rooster, a bill like a duck, spurs on its ears. Ooh.
Its ears, maybe on the outside.
Like at the base or on the tips.
Right? Like how cool are like porcupines and hedgehogs and stuff? Those are cool animals.
Right?
They don't make any sense.
Quills. Yeah. It's
like, what the fuck was God doing?
Sharp
and he
hair.
was like, let's make
your hair your weapon.
Different types of ball animals. Things that can go balled up.
Right.
It'll be great.
Yeah, that is really
armadillos.
Too.
We make armadillos, roly-polies, fucking hedgehogs.
Sea urchins even.
Sea urchins, fucking
just sharp,
other spiky
creatures.
things that roll up into
What
a
about
ball.
clams? They're
There's a bunch of
basically clams and oysters. You know, like one of my biggest takeaways from working in the seafood department was at Whole Foods was, you know, Earth was just like, you know, I'm making some animals, but we're still making rocks. Let's make both.
Like animals that make rocks or sentient rocks?
No, so oysters are like rocks that are animals.
No.
Because, you know, they've got biological parts, but they're basically rocks.
Yeah,
like
they
on the
just
outside,
grow
you
all
know?
the outside
Yeah,
stuff.
that's those thick layers of that they grow around themselves. Like it's, you know, when they even do that, that's what pearls are. They're just like, I'm a secrete hard substance around this splinter so it doesn't splinter me anymore.
Yeah.
And then they're just like pearl.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
what
it's very
is that?
bizarre that
It
there's
just creates
there's a
layers
rock
of
creature
silicone,
that can create other rocks,
right?
and we like collect them and move them around.
What
and
is this?
stuff,
Is this the
breed
Horta
them.
from Star Trek, the original
Like,
series?
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
But that's something that we just stopped caring about and has a whole industry now that just exists.
just to eat it.
Making
We don't think about how cool they are. Sorry, just making what?
No, just making nice pearls, shitty pearls, graded pearls. I mean, there's that.
Right.
I don't know. We didn't end up in that one shop, I think, the like mother of pearl shop when we went to Tucson because we didn't do exploring the day after Gem and Jam. We did a little bit.
Oh, we went to that outdoor rock shop.
Yeah.
Which, you know, just kind of like
I mean,
looked around for a minute.
even the one I went to the year before was like barely more than just some stuff out of a motel, but they had like 2 motel rooms that were connected and it was just full of like pearls.
Well,
Like of various shapes and like qualities.
I remember that
What?
Moldavite display. I
going
think
on
that
with
dude
this?
had, that German guy had
yeah.
inside. That was pretty wild.
Yeah. That
A
stuff's
lot
cool.
of Moldavite.
Like having all those like
Pricey.
people selling that shit, and just being like, "This is a thing. This is a type of rock that I specialize in." And then other people who were like, "I have a bunch of bins of whatever. It's
Right.
all going to cost per weight."
Here's the general selection of rock. Like, you know, there's definitely those.
I found it
folks
and
too. Uh,
broke it off. That's what you're paying for.
Yeah, right. All of the rocks in this box were one rock, and I smashed it. That'd be my rock gym model. Like if I was selling rough rock, I'd be like, well, I'm gonna go out and dig up really huge pieces of quartz and split them.
I mean, those are the videos that I can like see. I think out of Quartzsite, and I think they're starting to bust people now too, because you gotta actually be on some kind of list that you're official or whatever. You can't just go out to the desert and
Kind of like a
start
official
mining.
geologist or something.
Unless you're in a specific
digger.
place. But yeah, kind of like a specific digger. Probably like hunting.
Yeah.
But yeah, people just go out and they're just like finding a small thing and are just chipping it and smashing at it, and then they're like, "Wow, look at this big old
Almost
chunk!
sell it.
Whoa!" And then presumably take it home and make it nicer,
Whoa,
or just sell
that's
it.
a nice rock.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't want to even think about like where those huge amounts come from out of like mines from like South America or Madagascar and stuff. I'm like, how many rocks are leaving Madagascar a year?
I'd be very surprised if I.
Why is there an industry
I
of
think
shipping
how-
rocks through the world
Dude, it's
in
a
just
crazy
crude
industry.
form?
And you know what's really nuts is I wonder how long that's been going on. And you know, obviously at different scales, but like people have always apparently treasured stones and gems, so like that's always been a trade.
Right.
Is
And I
like
mean,
shipping.
that's a good point too. I mean,
interesting
how much of
thing.
this stuff is even like, how would you ask for like a new rock? I mean, would it matter? I
What do you-
suppose it wouldn't matter.
What,
but
what do you mean in the time of like say no internet, no communication?
No, just like
or-
previously dug.
Oh,
Like, would it sound funny if you went into a place and you were like, "Do you have any new rock?" And they're just like, "What?"
like oh,
You're like, you know, postmodern rock. They're like, rock takes millions of years to form, and you're like, "That's not what I'm saying." And they're like, "What are you talking
I'm
about?"
talking about a freshly dug rock.
Freshly dug rock.
There you
just
go.
broken up, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Why would it
freshly
make a
sourced.
difference?" I'm now realizing I don't know why it would make a difference.
Well,
But
no, because especially in the times of scarcity, because it really just changed how easily sourced the rock was and how easily transported. So you go into one guy's rock shop, in like I guess the early Renaissance, and you see the same rocks for a couple days, and then he's just like, oh, got new rocks in. So like that kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh, you got something new? I want to look at something new, because we're ultimately creatures of curiosity, and that's what drives a lot of our attention.
yeah, I'm also thinking on like the macroeconomic side of like, you think some of those dudes have like bulk amounts of like quartz that they've been carrying around since like 1984, and they're just kind of chipping away at it.
Well, no, I'd
And then
imagine after a
upgrade
while.
to another thing that somebody else couldn't sell from 1972, and they're just like, this is all, it's quartz. It doesn't look
Yeah.
any better or worse than the quartz from that's being dug up now. It's the same, relative
Right,
length
same
of time.
formula.
So I don't know. I
Still-
find that interesting.
Well, yeah. When the
Or
funny
not
thing is,
interesting. It's just moving rocks.
well,
around.
the really funny thing is too is that every bit of it is like, for the most part, like all product that was formed by the earth, and unless you destroy it, will be around a lot longer than anyone who's collecting or buying it.
Oh yeah,
So it's like all these rocks are just moving hands, but it's really like we're just moving the rocks around.
right.
And the rocks are just like, I'm just here to be a rock. And
Right.
like, I don't know, like it's a very peculiar thing that we latch on to. And maybe that's part of the fascination too. Cause like that was certainly whenever I started collecting again a couple years ago, the thing that really like fascinated me was just sitting there being like, wow, this thing was formed far before I was born and will be around long after I'm gone unless someone smashes it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
just
funny.
a very weird.
Yeah, I never really thought
thing.
about that like that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we're like stewards of the rock pieces, but we're not really. It's not our rocks.
Right.
We are the rocks owners.
And it does also seem like the longer you own a
Or
piece,
the rocks are our owners.
like the
We're
more it shows
stewards.
up, you're just like, you're still there, looking exactly the same, and I've changed in every way.
Exactly. Well, and that's the weird thing too, because when I
That's pretty
started,
wacky.
yeah, like when I started collecting again, my mom broke out my old collection of rocks and fossils that I collected when I was much younger. And, like for example, I've still got all those for the most part with me right now, but they're all like still in a box. But I've got a couple of them. There are two of them that I have specifically from that time when I was less than 10 years old. I've got two egg-shaped rocks. One's like a greenish sort of what's it called? It's not a geode, but it's whenever it's like a combination of rock materials. But yeah, I think maybe it is a geode. But it's definitely not a shape like a geode. It's just an egg shape. There's like a green one, an orange one, whatever. Got these two cool little like metal band ringed looking stands. But those rocks have looked exactly the same for the last 20 years. Ever since I was a child.
Yeah.
And like there's just sitting there on my shelf. And it's like you're saying, I've changed in every way.
Yeah, every
almost.
Conceivable person. Your atoms are totally different.
Yeah, my atoms have been replaced at least twice.
Right.
If not 3 times since I've seen those rocks. And like
a couple of them are like, we got some of those electrons.
Those rocks are just like, I'm still chilling.
They're in our orbit. Not totally gone.
It's like that giant chunk of amber that I have. Like that, I had that when I was a kid.
Right.
Still looks the same. In fact, the only changes it's had was one day I took it and like left it on the hood of my car on the dashboard, and it got a little cracked on some sides of it where it tried drying out more in the sun. I was just like, oh, don't want to do that again. But yeah, other than that, still the same piece of petrified sap.
I think we've left some. I think Rachel's left some of her pieces out, and they've like lost some color.
Oh, absolutely. Sun bleaches rocks, especially things like amethyst or things like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I've heard a lot.
Just like, take that, rock.
Yeah. Right? I'm going to change
I can change you. You think I can? I can.
But you know what's interesting?
I'll take those electrons.
But it's just the photons changing the way we interpret the rock, but it's not changing the actual molecular structure of the rock. That's the weird thing. So it's like bleaching the color out, but it's not changing the fundamental structure of the rock.
It's not like moving something that makes up the color.
As far as I know, it's because when you think about colors, still just our interpretation. Colors don't really exist. It's just reflecting that light. So maybe it's just somehow reversing or changing the polarity of the atoms or how they refract light,
or pushing out trapped photons.
Maybe.
Displacing.
Is
there a photon displacement? Is that a thing that exists?
I don't know.
That sounds pretty interesting,
right?
If you aim 2 lasers at each other, do they divert? How powerful would these lasers have to be to actually divert, or would they just mesh and do nothing?
I'm typing in, how does sunlight wash out amethyst?
That's not the words that I said. Photon displacement sounds scientific.
Well, but it's asking the question.
I stood up and outraged everybody.
It was a good outrage stand-up. It was well timed. It's
Because
yeah,
this
it
could
happens
this
in
could tie together
normal.
our tenant argument.
Yeah, I know, right? We gotta really figure this out.
If the
Why does
sun can
amethyst
bleach
change?
photons out of crystal, then there's no reason it can't move backwards through time and space or exist independent of. Dang it.
Okay, well, so that makes sense. So it says if you leave amethyst in sunlight or under UV sources too long, its color will fade. And if you expose amethyst to heat, you'll see the color fade as well. So definitely with the heat, and I would assume also, the heat from sunlight, it does change the actual structure. So that does technically change the form of the rock as well.
Ah,
Um,
so there you go. Just
yeah,
moves it around.
but yeah, unfortunately, there's no direct answer saying like why.
Right.
Oh, wait,
Nobody's out here
there's a top
microscoping it.
answer on something. Let's see.
Usually have to have a pretty strong microscope.
Says due in no small part to what impurity in the SiO2 crystal structure gives the vivid purple and violent tones of
Yeah, of
amethyst.
course.
So
Naturally.
it has to do with
Mhm.
the elements in it reacting to the light. According to several sources, the main source of the color is naturally irradiation-borne tetravalent iron
There we go.
Fe4+,
There we
which is
go.
formed via naturally occurring gamma radiation altering trivalent iron Fe3
There we go.
during crystallization. Other elements exist as impurities, but are far less important considerations for the color produced.
So you think it's like cutting like the half-life or whatever? Science.
So, yeah, something like that.
Completely accurate science.
Well, because it's cool too because people love amethyst and they love citrine, and they're just different like colors of
Yeah.
quartz. Basically, like I think.
But what we actually love
And-
is the
and
radiation
yeah.
pulsing out of it slowly and seeping into our
Yeah.
bodies, saying, "You're safe. You're safe
It's
with
like
me."
it's ion stamp or something. Yeah.
Right? Or leeching time. There's a good one too. You're just leeching time from when it was compressed into that form.
I'm not sure I see that visualization. Wait, like time represented as color?
No, well, like
Or-
being freed from like the crystalline form from when it was formed. Like the radiation is just kind of compressed, obviously, into certain areas because the whole crystals usually aren't lit up. It's only in the areas where
Oh yeah,
the
where those
color
concentrations
persists.
are.
Which, of course, in the ones that are all purple or are all colorful,
Yeah,
would have more.
they're like freeing elements.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Or at least just converting elements into
Right.
new elements.
What's up with that?
It's changing their.
Let's plug up some of these crystals out here,
Structure,
y'all, and
right?
then shine light on them.
Well, I mean, one of the craziest things that we do with rocks is using quartz to power clocks.
Yeah.
And keep them accurate because of the vibration of quartz, which is pretty mind blowing.
Right.
And so when people discount entirely the benefit of like stones and like
minerals and stuff.
Minerals for like purposes, it's like we literally have used clocks to keep quartz to keep time in clocks. So that
keep
argument
clocks to keep time, y'all.
The argument is moot. Like I feel like it makes sense to be like, well, you can't just pick up a rock and gain all of its properties and it's going to change you fundamentally as a person. But at least I think in the sense that a lot of people use it, it helps set a mental marker for them that allows them to then change themselves potentially if they're really going for that change.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, we do use rocks for things. And then water, I think, is my most curious considered gemstone, because I would call it a gemstone because it can form into a crystalline solid when at the right proper temperature. And since rocks have melting points, they also can turn into a liquid. So it's like water is kind of a crystal, but it's like a super crystal almost with a super low boiling point. And we use it for basically everything. We need it for life. It's almost everything's made out of water. It's like a liquid crystal power plant. That's just a fun thought experiment.
Yeah, there's probably like a definitional like contrast in there where it's really just semantics that make it.
Yeah.
So that one
rocks,
thing isn't necessarily like the other, despite them being the same in their solid form.
Yeah. Well, rocks are made out of, I guess, heavier elements, and because water is hydrogen, oxygen.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But Stars on Mars, everybody. Episode 4. It's about that time. Watch Stars on Mars if you're feeling it. It's really cool.
This is a fun chat about
Watch out for snakes.
Animals and things. Yeah,
and-
watch
and
out for
mosquitoes.
these
Kill
fucking
mosquitoes,
snails,
y'all. We don't need mosquitoes.
Don't mess with snails.
Yeah, snails are, they might be cute, but when you see those Instagrams of someone handling a giant, huge snail, just let them handle a snail. You don't need a snail.
I can't handle it.
Get rid of the
It
snail.
makes me go, they're so cute, and now I'm more frightened than ever.
Now you're like, snails kill people. These snails are more than sharks.
They snail people.
Yeah, you get snailed.
They're out here snailing.
Right? We need salt. We need salt in our lives to keep the murderous snails at bay.
That's the episode, y'all.
Thank you very much for listening to another Hackurate episode.
The Hackurate podcast.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Oh, you want to say our names one more time?
Oh, yeah. I'm Aaron Howell.
I'm Nathan Goodman.
Bye-bye.
Bye.